So I would consider myself to be a pretty big music nerd. And because I hold that label, music nerd, I am continually asked what my favorite album is. Now, believe it or not, this is a very, very commonly asked question. And my response has always been the same. I say that my favorite album is the Shrek 2 soundtrack from the movie Shrek 2. But guys, it is finally time for me to come clean. My favorite album is actually Good Kid, M.A.A.D City by Loaded Diaper. In case you've never heard of Loaded Diaper, they're like a little indie band. They mostly make like alternative rock / punk music. Kendrick Lamar, rapper, record producer, Pulitzer Prize winner, the artist behind this provocative LP, Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. Now, in order to understand and properly analyze the influence of this project, we need to hit the cultural reset button. The year is 2012. It was probably around this time period when the genre of hip-hop was beginning to undergo some pretty dramatic changes. Now, I think it's pretty easy for us to tell the difference between a rap song written in like the late 2010s compared to a rap song written in the late 2000s. In around like 2011, 2012, you see the genre start to shift from old school flows and wordplay to something a bit more trap influenced. The modern era rap style that we know so well today was starting to become more mainstream, while the old school style of rap was starting to lose momentum. Yet Good Kid, M.A.A.D City just sounds like a completely different subgenre altogether. I remember listening to this album back when it came out in 2012 and just thinking to myself like, this was nothing I've ever heard before. This was a completely new sound. It blew my mind, and it would go on to influence rap in so many different ways, and it would do this through narrative. Now, looking back at the pre-Good Kid, M.A.A.D City era, there were many artists and bands that tried experimenting with infusing narrative into their albums or songs, but for the most part, a lot of musical artists just stayed away from the concept of narrative in their music. It didn't really attract too many listeners, and their labels started to lose profit. Now, there were many artists who did talk about personal experiences through their music, but I mean, that really isn't the same as telling a complete story like the way a book would. For the most part, mixtapes were just collections of songs. Songs that may or may not contribute to an overall theme that the artist is trying to present. But that has all changed when this shit drops. Good Kid, M.A.A.D City tells a story, an autobiographical story for that matter, about young Kendrick growing up in Compton. And for the most part, this story is better than, like, most books that I've read. And I've read a lot of books. Not only is a story told here in this album, but Kendrick somehow manages to use literary devices in a very effective way. For example, in the song Shireen, aka Master Splinter's daughter, the track that opens up the album, Kendrick is at a party and he meets this girl named Shireen. He chats with her for a little bit and then leaves the party, but not before getting her phone number first. So then Kendrick and Shireen start messaging each other for a little while, and then Kendrick decides to make plans to meet up with her at her house. So he's on his way to her house and he's just thinking to himself like, oh, I'm about to smash. And as he's pulling into her driveway, suddenly he sees two men in black hoodies staring at him. And then the track ends there. That's it. It's just a completely abrupt ending, but it creates foreshadowing. The listener is forced to keep listening in order to find out what happens next. It is genius. All the while, the listener is thinking to themselves, who are those men in black hoodies? What do they want to do with Kendrick? Then suddenly the album transitions to the track Backseat Freestyle, where Kendrick is in the back of his mom's car with his friends freestyling. Like the events that we just listened to didn't happen at all. Another literary device that Kendrick uses throughout the album is the change in perspective. While Kendrick is in the backseat of his mom's car freestyling with his friends, he just looks like he's having a good time. He's acting obnoxious and loud, and his friends are edging him on. And then that track transitions to the art of peer pressure. And the perspective shifts to the internal monologue going on inside Kendrick's head. And it becomes apparent that although it seems like Kendrick is having a good time with his friends, he feels like his friends pressure him to do things that seem out of character to him, like drugs. And although all of these artistic elements are being incorporated into this project, it doesn't lose sight of strong lyrics and themes. Themes like peer pressure and loss and religion. As Kendrick is growing up in Compton, he encounters experiences that have helped shape him into the character he is. Remember those two guys in black hoodies from before? Yeah, they are gang members, and they jump Kendrick and beat him up. Then, when him and his boys go and confront them, it turns into a deadly shootout, and Kendrick's friend is killed. It is in those moments when Kendrick finds himself surrounded by violence and, dare I say, madness. On the inside, he wants to believe that he is still a good kid. Yet deep down, he knows that the corrupting influence of his environment has taken a toll on him. And that is where the title of the project comes from. I could go on for hours talking about how impressive and deep Good Kid, M.A.A.D City really is, but this video's been long enough. In many ways, is the story that Kendrick tells relatable, at least to me, yet it doesn't stop it from feeling personal and unique to him. And once you've listened to Good Kid, M.A.A.D City, you begin to realize that many successful albums are just copycats that rip off of the Good Kid, M.A.A.D City formula. 2014 Forest Hill Drive just does what Good Kid, M.A.A.D City has already done. Beauty Behind the Madness, that's just rephrasing Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. Jesus is King is just ripping off of Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. Every single Radiohead album is just ripping off of Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. That's ripping off of Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. Saxophone Colossus is just ripping off of Good Kid's Fifth Symphony is just ripping off of Good. Even stupid-ass Vanilla Gorilla is ripping off of Good Kid, M.A.A.D City. So anyway, that's what I think about Good Kid, M.A.A.D City, guys. Remember to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already. These videos take a long time to make, and that's it. Okay, bye-bye now.